With his third IndyCar win of the year at Nazareth last month, Michael Andretti kept his hopes alive of winning his first PPG IndyCar World Series title. Last year, Michael finished second in points, just 8 behind eventual champion Bobby Rahal. Today, the series moves to Laguna Seca Raceway in picturesque Monterey, California, with Andretti 25 points behind Rahal.
We're not giving up. You know, we have 2 more left, and if we can do what we did here, I think we'll still be in good shape.
Dublin, Ohio is Bobby's hometown, but he loves to come to Laguna Seca Raceway.
I guess if Mid-Ohio is my home track, this is my home away from home track.
The odds for a Rahal win today are in his favor. His victory last year was his 3rd straight on the 1.9-mile road course. He and his wife, Debbie, are hoping for the first back-to-back championship since 1982. But there's another story that's stolen the headlines, the debut of the Porsche IndyCar. Porsche North American Sports Director Al Holbert is overseeing the operation, and this year's Indy 500 champion Al Unser is behind the wheel. Rahal and Michael Andretti, and the Porsche in its maiden voyage on the shores of the Pacific Ocean in Central California. Welcome you to Laguna Seca Raceway in Monterey, California for the Champion Sparkplug 300-kilometer IndyCar race. It's a beautiful day here. The temperature is 74 degrees and just a few scattered clouds. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins, and welcome to Laguna Seca, California. Several stories have developed this weekend. The most important, of course, is the fact that Bobby Rahal can clinch the 1987 PPG IndyCar World Series title with a good finish here today. But Michael Andretti is right behind and also wants to walk off with that title. Working with me in the booth today is going to be David Hobbs. And David, when you look at the records of Andretti and of Bobby Rahal, they contrast quite a bit on road courses and on ovals.
Well, of course, Bobby Rahal is the current champion. Would dearly love to lock up the 87 championship here today. And statistics definitely seem to be on his side. As you can see from the accompanying graph, he has consistently outpointed Michael Andretti on road courses. But, of course, today, Michael Andretti just happens to be in front of him on the grid, so that's a bit of a plus for Michael. Bobby Rahal's won this race 3 times. The last 3 races he's won that, and everybody says, well, he's going for his 4th win. If I'd won a race 3 times, I would definitely not be looking for my 4th win at the same racetrack. However, these aren't the only 2 coves in this race today, because right behind them are 2 other drivers who really want to impress today, and that is Jeff Brabham and Kevin Cogan, both of whom, unbelievable as it may seem, are out of a drive for 1988. So they're going to want to put on a really good show today. So, as they say, stay tuned for some pretty good action.
And, of course, the other major story here this weekend is the debut of the IndyCar Porsche. For more on that story, let's go to one of 2 pit reporters for the afternoon. Here is Gary Lee.
Thank you, Bob. Good afternoon. The first car on the starting grid was the Quaker State Porsche IndyCar. Now, this is the first single-seater the German manufacturer has produced since 1962, their Formula One car. Porsche was committed to test this car under race conditions this season. In fact, this car did not arrive in America until this week. It was tested at Portland before being shipped down here to Monterey. And there are some growing pains. It's a brand new project, a new chassis, a new 2.65-liter turbocharged engine, and a new gearbox. Growing pains? Well, the car is not handling. They want more downforce. But if anybody can get the most out of an Indy car, it's the 4-time Indy champion Al Unser Sr. He starts from near the back of the pack in the Porsche Indy car. Also working with us today in the pit area, talking about a driver who has come back after a sabbatical from IndyCar racing, is our colleague Larry Newber.
Well, Gary, this is the machine that has carried Roberto Guerrero to 4 poles and 2 wins this year. And, of course, everyone knows that Roberto was seriously injured a couple weeks back, and owner Vince Granatelli has had to go to a succession of substitute drivers while Roberto was recovering. Well, this week here at Laguna Seca, Vince has sort of kept it in the family. Well, not exactly. Of course, Roberto was from South America with a driver this week. Raul Boizo, of course, also from South America. A former Indianapolis driver, fresh off the World Sports Prototype Championship for 1987. And I also suggest this is an excellent choice and probably a preview of 1988. Certainly, he is the best candidate to fill one of the available IndyCar seats for next year. And one other thing, since I've been here preparing for this little piece, not a person has walked by and has not said, please say hi to Roberto, Katie, and son Marco. They're back home in Indianapolis watching. And Roberto, how'd you shoot this morning? He spent the morning on the golf course.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. So lots of stories to watch for in the next 2 hours here at Laguna Seca. It's all being brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. New Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. By Busch Beer, the beer with a taste. unbelievable. More people than I've seen here in Monterey in the years that we've been coming here, and they're ready for some IndyCar racing, 300 kilometers worth in the Champion Spark Plug 300. Let's go down to Major General Edwin Hess Burba Jr. for those famous words.
Okay, Bruce, and now I would like to introduce the honorary Grand Marshal for this event, Major General Edwin Hess Burba Jr., Commanding General 7th Infantry Light and Ford Ord, for the words that everyone has been waiting for. Sir?
Gentlemen, start your engines.
24 men have gathered here to race on the Laguna Seca course, 1.9 miles in length. That green car you see in the background, numbered 6, is the Porsche. There is Jose Lee Garza, who is ready in his Machinist Union car. And as a matter of fact, all the drivers are in their cars and set to go as the engines have been started. Here now is the starting lineup for today's IndyCar race at Laguna Seca Raceway, 24 strong. On the pole from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, will be Mario Andretti in the number 5 Hanna Auto Wash Lola. He qualified at 129.237. Outside will be his son, Michael Andretti, in car 18, the Craco STP March at 128.9. Then in row number 2, it'll be Bobby Rahal from Dublin, Ohio, in the Budweiser True Sports Lola car number 1. Outside of that second row will be Danny Sullivan in the Miller American March car number 3. In row number 3, Jeff Brabham in the Team Valvoline Special March car number 15. To his outside will be Kevin Cogan in car number 7, the Patrick Racing March, qualifying at 126.5. Going to row number 4, Rick Mears in car number 8, the Pennzoil Z7 March. Beginning in 8th position will be Al Unser Jr. in the Domino's Pizza March car number 30, qualifying at 125.981. In the 5th row, it'll be Emerson Fittipaldi in the Marlboro March, car number 20. Outside of that 5th row will be Derek Daly in the Raynor Lola, car number 10, qualifying at 125.325. In row number 6, Ari Lyondike in the Livingwell Provimi Veal March, numbered 71. And then Jose Lee Garza from Mexico City in the number 50 Fine Schaefer's Machinist March. In the 13th starting position will be Jeff Wood in car number 23, and then Raul Boisel in car number 4, the car normally driven by Roberto Guerrero. Starting 15th will be Pancho Carter in car number 29, and John Andretti in number 33. Going to row number 9, car number 22, Dick Simon, and number 11, Jeff McPherson. In the 10th row, Scott Goodyear in 56 and Randy Lewis in car number 24. In the 11th row, the Porsche, driven by Al Unser and Dale Coyne in car number 19. Then in row number 12 will be Johnny Rutherford in car number 21 and Ludwig Heimrath Jr. in number 12. Now, Rutherford is on the back row because he crashed in the late afternoon practice yesterday, and Ludwig Heimrath Jr. is substituting for Fabrizio Barbaza, who received an eye injury earlier today. Well, as we said, this is a 1.9-mile road course, and David Hobbs, our colleague in the booth, has raced on it many times. Here's a description of Laguna Seca Raceway.
There you see the layout of the Laguna Seca Raceway. For a road course, it's relatively short, 1.9 miles, but very, very high average speed, over 125 miles an hour. And here's Jeff Brabham in his Valvoline Honda engine car, going to give us a quick run around there. Over turn 1, the brow, down to turn 2. In the races, will be pretty well flat out. And as they accelerate out of 2 to 3, these cars will be reaching about 175 miles an hour. Turn 3, this one they've just gone through, if they get it right, is almost flat out. Up to turn 4. They have to brake and change down to 4th for this one, but it's still a very high-speed corner. All you can see as you go up the road here is sky, a bit of a dip there, and there'll be a little bit of passing going on here as they brake into this sharp left-hander. This is the beginning of the corkscrew. Left, right. Now, as we come out of here, you've got to get this right into this turn 7. This is a long corner, a very important and key corner on this racetrack because it leads into turn 8, which is also a very fast right-hand sweep. And this one is also extremely important because a lot of the overtaking on this track goes on as we come into this turn here, turn 9, a very slow 100-degree corner, second gear, as Jeff Brabham puts his foot on the floor and accelerates for another lap of this Laguna Seca Raceway.
So that's the course description, and as the laps progress, they'll be shifting about 25 times per lap in this IndyCar race. And there you can see the pace cars leading the field on one of 3 warm-up laps that we'll have here before getting the green flag. So stand by for the Champion Sparkplug 300 IndyCar race. We'll be right back with the racing action in a moment. Finish line, we should be receiving a green flag in the beginning of this 300-kilometer event. 98 laps on the 1.9-mile road course. The cars now are headed toward turn number 9, a sharp hairpin turn. On the pole is Mario Andretti. Outside is Michael Andretti. Here they come down the front stretch looking for green. And the green flag is out. We are racing. Side by side through the first and second corners. One car getting off course just a little bit and kicking up some dust, but no problem, as we have had a spin in turn number 9. And that would be the number 22 car driven by John Richards. Meanwhile, the race is on, and Mario Andretti has grabbed the lead as they come uphill to turn number 6. And the look at the corkscrew for the first time coming up here in just a moment.
The kid ahead.
Michael indeed has grabbed the lead.
Got a very substantial lead there. He really outdueled his dad going through those very, very fast turns 1, 2, and 3. And I mean, he just stuck right to his guns, even though he was on the outside of turn 2, snatched the lead off his father.
That's Mario running in second, followed by Bobby Rahal, and then Danny Sullivan as the number 30 car driven by Al Unser Jr. has been able to pass Kevin Kogan. So it was side-by-side racing going into the second and third turns. When the green flag dropped, they didn't fall into single file formation very quickly, but now they have, as Michael Andretti has grabbed the lead as we watch some of the action from back in the pack. That's Kevin Kogan in car 7.
Number 7, Kevin Kogan there, giving the car of Al Unser Jr. a pretty hard time. There's Jeff Brabham, I believe, number 8, being hounded also by young Al Unser Jr. in the Domino's pizza car. They didn't have a terribly good practice time one way or another. They were just a bit off the whole weekend, but he seems to go that together this afternoon.
Well, you know, one thing that you look for is the time and speeds turned in by these cars on the final practice. That's important because they set up a car under race conditions, and Al Unser Jr. was the 4th quickest during that final practice session, so he may be a driver to watch. Kevin Kogan was 3rd quickest in that session. Sullivan was 2nd, and Bobby Rahal the quickest in the final practice yesterday.
Well, he's certainly giving Jeff Brabham a hard time as they go through that very fast turn 3. These guys are going just about 170 miles an hour as they go around that turn. And obviously, if Al Unser can find his way past Jeff Brabham, I'm sure he'll pull away. And of course, that's Kevin Kogan right behind him now. Both, as I said earlier, both Brabham and Kogan really want to put on a good show today, because at the moment they're driverless for next year. Kevin Kogan going very wide there, and that let through, is that Rick Mears?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So Kevin lost a position and now is just ahead of his teammate Emerson Fittipaldi as the cars come down once again into turn number 9. That is Jeff Brabham in 5th position and Al Unser Jr. in 6th right behind him. Now we have an in-car camera inside Jeff Brabham's car, and there it is as he comes across the finish line, headed uphill slightly to turn 1.
Down into turn 2 here. Jeff just doing something to his eye there, to his helmet. Maybe he's got a bit of a problem with his visor or something. He's putting his arm up there all the time. Like I say, through that turn there, they're doing just about 170 miles an hour, so you really need to hang on with both hands. But he's obviously got some sort of a problem, because he keeps on doing something to his visor.
A very stiff elevation change here, going from the front stretch up to this portion of the racetrack, the corkscrew. There's a tremendous elevation change.
And of course, same here as they go down to this turn 7. Now, this is a very important, it's a long corner. Up a shift there. Probably down again here for 8. Through 8. I said in the early part that they use 2nd gear turn 9. Of course, they actually use 1st gear here. So they go right to the gearbox as they come up past the pits here. And as you can see, they get pretty close to that wall. Jeff Brabham's obviously got some sort of a problem with his visor, and that's the sort of thing that can really spoil a race. race day for you.
Well, he seems to be adjusting it every opportunity he gets. When he hasn't got both hands on the wheel, he raises that right hand and adjusts the visor. Al Unser Jr. very close behind, though, in that 6th spot.
Oh, Al Unser using a lot of road there. Maybe Al's got a bit of understeer. Now, of course, following Jeff Brabham's car through that turn, he'll be losing a lot of aerodynamic help, too, at that high speed. And if you race right under the wing of the car in front, obviously your downforce is affected quite considerably. And these cars do develop a lot of downforce. Going through that corner at 170 miles an hour, these cars are developing about 2,500 pounds of downforce. So as you can see, if you take half that downforce away, it makes a serious difference to the handling of the car.
It's a very narrow racetrack here at Laguna Seca, and opportunities to pass aren't all that frequent. Now, we have seen a lot of passing down in turn number 9 as a driver will try to outbrake another. And believe it or not, one of the other places that a lot of passing occurs is up at the top of the hill as they go into the corkscrew. And despite the fact that that corkscrew is one of the weirdest corners in all of racing here in the United States, they often pass going into it. Now, they're coming uphill headed for it right now, and in this area right here is where a lot of passing will be seen during the course of today's race. Let's go to Gary Lee, who can refresh us on what's going on with Jeff Brabham and the possibility of a problem with his visor. Gary?
Well, there's some concern down here because apparently on the helmet there is a screw on either side. One screw on the right side has come out, so this part of the helmet is allowing the visor to pull away. They were looking for a spare helmet in the hauler. They can't find Jeff's 2nd helmet, so he may have to come in and have this portion of the helmet taped down so this will not fly out with the wind.
So we'll watch for that as the race progresses. But Jeff Brabham, as we go back inside his car with our in-car camera, is having no problems. But you can see he's constantly up there on the right side of his helmet trying to make adjustments.
Well, of course, this is absolutely disastrous for Jeff Brabham because this is the last place in the world you want to keep holding your hand to the side of your head. As you can see, this is not a one-handed circuit by any means. The lead, meanwhile, stays at about 1.5 seconds. And there we see Michael Andretti, who is in the lead.
And he's approaching the slower traffic already. That is the number 12 car, which is being driven in a late driver change by Ludwig Heimrad. Michael Andretti coming into the pits. That's the place where he enters, and indeed he is. Michael Andretti, the leader, for some unexplained reason, is coming toward the pits, and the word is that the engine has quit on the car.
Wow, that's terribly disappointing for Michael Andretti. It's obviously disappointing for all of us as well. And of course, if Bobby Rahal just finishes this race now, it doesn't matter whether he finishes dead last, he will have locked up the 1987 championship.
You can see the frustration on the heart of Michael Andretti as he pounds on the steering wheel. They take the bonnet off the engine and go inside to try to find out what has occurred to Michael Andretti. Let's go to Gary Lee.
They're saying now it may be a fuel management problem in the Craco number 18. Obviously disaster at this point as another car is slowing on the front straightaway. That appears to be the Porsche. It's slowing on the main straightaway. All kinds of mechanical problems early in this race.
Look at Michael Andretti, just absolutely furious with himself. And there is the Porsche. The Quaker State Porsche, driven by Al Unser, is coming to a stop on the main straightaway.
Well, of course, the Porsche is the car that everybody thought would just come in and absolutely dominate IndyCar racing, just as they have done in sports car racing. But, of course, IndyCar racing is a very different state of health to sports car racing. I don't think they're going to dominate this sort of racing, at least for a long time yet. It's going to take them a lot of time to get that car sorted out. But they will. I mean, Porsche are very, very committed, if nothing else, to racing.
So not a very good beginning for the Porsche, but it is the beginning at least. Now, there is Mario Andretti, who now has taken over as leader of this race. In second position is Bobby Rahal, and third is Danny Sullivan. There they are, running very close together on the racetrack. So Michael Andretti leads the first 7 laps of this race, but relinquish it to his father, Mario Andretti, as Michael sits in the pit area. Laguna Seca where Mario Andretti is leading this 300-kilometer IndyCar race. His son Michael led the first 7 circuits, but then came in with a spark plug problem. They tried to get him back out onto the race car course. However, the car has stalled once again at the exit of pit road, and it appears as if Michael Andretti's chances of winning this race and his hopes of winning a PPG title are now gone. Let's go to Larry Newber.
Well, Bob, the first information that Gary got apparently was correct. They're thinking it's a fuel management or a fuel pickup problem. Right after the car went out on the course, it stalled again. Now we're looking at the Porsche car that has stalled for the second time. We are guessing electronics. That's what it seems like for this car. Now, obviously, Alonso Sr. wants to stay out. He had an option of going behind the pit wall or back onto pit road. He made a hard right-hander. Now he's coasting back toward the pit stall, and Alonso Sr. wants to keep racing.
Well, the Porsche really had performed well. It did not perform fast this weekend as it started in the next to the last row, but nevertheless they had very few mechanical problems in their practice and qualifying sessions, but something has gone wrong here in the race itself. Now, Danny Sullivan has moved into second position. Mario Andretti dropping Bobby Rahal back to third. Fourth is Jeff Brabham, followed by Al Unser Jr., then Kevin Kogan, Rick Mears, Emerson Fittipaldi, Jose Legarza, and 10th is Derek Daly. There's Danny Sullivan, though, currently in second.
Danny Sullivan seems to be making a little bit of ground up on Mario Andretti, who set an absolutely electrifying time here in qualifying. And Bobby Rahal, our championship contender, is definitely dropping back.
So Bobby Rahal could very well be on his way to wrapping up a championship since Michael Andretti has dropped out of competition. It appears as if the title will be decided here this afternoon and not in Miami 3 weeks from today, the final IndyCar race of the season.
Because even if Bobby Rahal himself drops out of this race, he's got enough point lead now that no one can take the championship away from him anyway. There we see Bobby Rahal from Columbus, Ohio, current champion, and certainly looks as if he's now heading to be the 1987 IndyCar champion as well.
Had a rather successful race in Columbus, Ohio in the streets, driving an IMSA car last weekend or 2 weekends ago.
He certainly did. Last weekend he drove a very good race and beat his teammate Jochen Mass in the Bruce Levin owned car, and Bruce Levin also had an incredibly successful weekend, having a first and a second. A good effort by the Levin team.
Pancho Carter carries our Hardee's in-car race cam, and there you can see Pancho Carter, who right now is shown in 14th position.
Oops, going over those red and white ripple strips on the exit of turn 4 there, as he comes up to the hairpin at the corkscrew, the left and right sweep here, as we see.
That's John Andretti running right ahead of Pancho, and John appeared to get the rear end of that car out just a little bit as he braked going into the hairpin, the corkscrew, I should say. But John Andretti now shown 13th and Pancho Carter 14th.
Pancho there, as he went through turn 7, he just had to give a little bit of a lift. It looks as if he might have got a bit of understeering for that car.
Good pictures from our in-car camera, though.
Showing that beautiful blue sky with a little bit of light scattered cloud there. It's a tremendous day for a race today, as we see Pancho Carter going through 2 and 3. There's John Andretti just in front of him. Oh, John Andretti using a lot of road there, more than he should be. So that'll give Pancho Carter a bit of hope for taking away another position.
And he's now right up on the rear wing of the Andretti car. And by the way, while we watch John Andretti, we'll tell you that Michael Andretti is still in the pit area. They are, however, replacing the spark box on that car in hopes of getting Michael back out there. Now John pulling well away from Pancho Carter as John Andretti got through that corkscrew in fine shape.
He certainly did. I think he must have, that bobble going through turn 3 probably just slowed him up just enough to give Pancho Carter some hope to get to him, but he certainly went better through the corkscrew.
Pancho Carter, oh, we have a problem as Dale Coyne has gone off course. He was racing with a couple of others and just got the right side wheels off the course as they came down the hill out of turn number 7. But Dale Coyne, or rather, that's going uphill into turn number 5.
Yeah, I think Dale Coyne was coming around turn 3 to lose it there and get onto the dirt and not hit it. And he's a pretty lucky lad, actually. Dale Coyne, of course, has got the only engine out here, stock block V8. So it sounds very different to these other machines.
Dale was the slowest qualifier at 110.556 miles an hour. He didn't start on the back row because Johnny Rutherford, who started his backup car, and also Ludwig Heinrich Jr. substituting for Fabrizio Barbosa, did start on the last row.
There we see the race for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, and Jeff Brabham seems to have pulled out a little bit on these two pursuers.
Let's go back and look at the incident involving Dale Coyne once again.
Oh, he got squeezed. He got squeezed out there by Jeff Brabham. Jeff Brabham going down the inside there. Ooh, Jeff Brabham's a bit of a lucky boy as well. That gave Alonso Jr. a chance to catch up with Jeff Brabham. That's one of the troubles with having cars with such a tremendous speed differential on a track like this. It's very difficult to pass here, and Jeff Brabham was bound and determined to get past Dale Coyne as they went into turn 3, but it was a bit of a fraught moment.
Now there's about, let's see, 16 miles an hour difference between Dale Coyne's qualifying speed and Jeff Brabham, so there is indeed a big separation. Gary Lee is with Al Holbert to give us information on the Porsche.
Al, you want to test the car in a race situation. Obviously, you can't test the car in the pit area. What's the problem?
It appears we've got a water leak out of the water pump. It's not determined whether it's the engine itself or just the pump, but it can't be repaired.
Obviously, very frustrating, very disappointing. But I know for you, you said earlier you'd love to be in a driving suit out here today in this race car and not just the manager of this program.
Well, we have the best guy to do it right now, and Al's done a wonderful job for us for a Quaker State car. And that's unfortunate. We wanted to run every lap. We've run 140 laps of practice, which is probably more than anyone else, and the idea was to test, but we just have to do it again.
Well, we'll try to get Al, if we can get from one Al to another Al. Al Unser? Al? We can step over here and collect him before he runs away from us. Al? Well, obviously a lot of Al, can we catch you here? Well, obviously Al is not wanting to talk to anyone, helmet in hand, and he walks away in disgusting manner. A frustrated driver as Al Unser Sr. walks away, the Porsche dead in the pit area.
So we have answered a couple of stories already. Michael Andretti's chances of moving by Bobby Rahal and cantering the championship gone, and now the Porsche Indy car has dropped out of the race. The Champion Sparkplug 300-kilometer race here at Laguna Seca Raceway near Monterey, California, with 19 out of 98 laps completed. Mario goes into this race 5th in points, so he has had his chances of winning the PPG title eliminated earlier in the year, and his son Michael came in with a chance but is suffering from electrical problems.
Mario has had a very, very, very frustrating year. Constantly, this Lola Chevrolet engined car has proven itself to be the absolute class of the field, as it's proving today. And they've been sidelined with some pretty extraordinary minor problems, one of which was not so minor was when the rear wing came off at Milwaukee, and I just happened to be a spectator there and was standing right where he thumped into the bank. So he's had his ups and downs this year, that's for sure, but he's certainly got control of this race at the moment.
In an excellent battle for 4th and 5th position, we have Jeff Brabham leading Al Unser Jr. and Kevin Kogan. And these guys have been going at it for several laps, just nose to tail.
They certainly have, and Jeff's obviously got that problem with his visor, which we've already, and there's some smoke coming up the front wheels of old Jeff as he brakes into the corner. Now they've got a problem, they've got a back mark, and Kogan just tries to sneak down the inside, has to run up on the curb, and that will allow, that's Michael Andretti, who's obviously out of contention, but he's out back in the race again.
So the spark plug problems apparently fixed on the Michael Andretti car, back in competition, but many, many laps down.
I think he's about 8 laps down, and Kevin Kogan tried to get around the inside there of Al Unser Jr. going to the corkscrew, and of course paid the penalty as Al forced him out. He put his wheel up over the curb. Right behind Kevin Kogan now is his teammate in the other Marlboro car. There you see it at the background there. That's Emerson Fittipaldi, who's had a titanic duel with Rick Mears, has got around Rick Mears, and now, of course, he's catching up with his teammate.
Now that 4th car there, as we zoom in, is Michael Andretti. What an unfortunate set of circumstances for him as he came in with spark plug problems and has a long way to go to make up the time and the distance that he lost.
Which is even what's going to be particularly frustrating for young Michael now, as the car will probably, in typical Murphy's Law fashion, run absolutely faultlessly for the rest of the day. He'll probably do the fastest lap of the race and be in a position which he could have easily won the race, but he won't.
Michael right now is sandwiched between Kevin Kogan, who is in 6th position, and Emerson Fittipaldi, who is 7th. There's Kevin behind Al Unser Jr. and Jeff Brabham.
Tremendous race there for 4th, 5th. I mean, you can't get much closer than that. And Jeff is doing all this mostly one-handed. So if you get any sort of award for one-handed driving, Jeff Brabham's got to have that award today. Kogan really getting all over the case of, or the gearbox case, in fact, of your actual Al Jr. Al Jr. still using a lot of road there as he goes through turn 4. Maybe he just likes using those ripple strips. I don't like using them. They are pretty rippling. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they're there for a reason.
It appears as if these cars are just about equally matched. They've been running together for the last several laps, and nobody has really pulled up on another guy to try to pass. They seem to be going at just about the same speed.
They're very evenly matched. As they put one of the back markers down there, that's John Richards, I think, maybe, the guy who spun there on the pace lap, which is a pretty clever thing to do. John Richards from Montana. I think he's got a bit of state help on that car, funnily enough, the state to help you. And there in the back of the picture now, you see Emerson Fittipaldi making ground on this battling quartet.
We have a replay of something that happened just a few laps ago.
And there we see Pancho Carter coming into turn 4, and good grief, he's passed there. Now that is definitely close passing. That was car number 33. That was John Andretti, who passed him on the outside going into turn 4 and was close enough to not hit the wheel, but did in fact remove that front wing. And as you can see from this aerial shot, to miss the wheel and hit the wing, it's pretty sort of tight fitting, really.
And there you can see Michael Andretti back into the pit area with continuing problems in his machine. Let's go to Larry.
Michael Andretti, you can see, is still having problems in the pit area. Michael is sitting in a race car, shaking his head. He keeps looking at crew chief Barry Green. They're trying to communicate as well as verbally, visually, trying to figure out exactly what the problems are. Very frustrating time for Michael. He has certainly been one of the quicker cars of this season. He and his father have dominated leading laps in 1987. Mario has led the most, and Michael has led the second. And they've gone back and forth from battery to spark box to fuel pickup problems. They think it's a little bit of everything.
So they are changing the tires on the right side of the car, but just as a precautionary thing in case they can get the car back into the race. Michael Andretti's hopes of winning a PPG championship in 1987 are now gone.
Well, this group are still battling it out mightily for 4th, 5th and 6th spot. Emerson can't seem to be making much ground on them, although very often when a group is racing like this, of course, they slow each other up as they come into the slowest corner on the track here, turn 9. A very important corner, mind you, because it leads onto what is effectively a straight piece of road. It's the fastest piece of road here, so you absolutely have to make good ground coming out of 9 to make a good job of what we're seeing here, turns 1, 2 and 3. There's a bit of excitement. There's Raul Basel in the car number 4, normally driven by Guerrero, putting that's Josele Garza about to put him a lap down. Is he already racing position?
Garza is in 10th. Boisel is in 11th position. So
they are racing for position.
They are racing for 10th position, and right behind Raul Boisel is Ari Leyendyk. And Leyendyke's story is quite amazing this year. The guy has not won a race, but he has finished well in just about all of the races and is currently 4th in the PPG standings.
Yes, looking for a good finish here, and in Miami in a couple of weeks' time. There's a wing lying in the road. That's probably the wing of Pancho Carter's car that we saw earlier on. Fittipaldi. Oh no, it's another wing. It's the wing of Kevin Kogan's car.
And here's how it happened.
And here's how it happened. He got inside. No, he didn't get inside. He tried to go inside Al Unser Jr., who pushed him out again and took his front wing off. Pretty serious around here with that front canard off, or as they call them, canard wing, because they really help make this car stick to the ground, and you certainly need stick. As you can see there, using a lot of road as he goes around turn 4.
Here comes Emerson.
Now his teammate Emerson Fittipaldi manages to take him.
So Emerson Fittipaldi moves up another position into 6th, and his teammate Kevin Kogan drops back to 7th. The leader is Mario Andretti with about a 4-second lead over Danny Sullivan. The pit area, and they're repairing the right side of his helmet. He's been bothered with it all race long, but has come in for a pit stop, and repairs apparently have been made as Jeff Brabham goes back out onto the racetrack.
Now this is a 2 pit stop race, this anyway. They have to make one at about 37 laps, and of course they have to make one with about 12 or 15 laps to go So they will obviously have used that as their short pit stop. So he may not have lost too much time on that altogether.
And we're 29 laps into the race, so it's a little earlier than a regularly scheduled one, but nevertheless he had to deal with that helmet problem.
It could mean that he'd have to make an extra pit stop because no, I think he'll be all right, because if he filled it up then, the race is long enough gone now that he should be able to go to his next regular pit stop. He'll be able to sync with everybody else.
And he comes back out onto the racetrack ahead of Pancho Carter, and there is Emerson Fittipaldi, who was 7th and has come in for a pit stop. So perhaps we are seeing
a lot of people
first,
coming in.
Yeah, of the regularly scheduled pit stops. So Zele Garza, you can see, pulled in front of Emerson Fittipaldi, and Bobby Rahall's crew apparently is also readying for his stop. And we have Al Unser Jr., who has lost a left rear tire.
Ooh. Well, that'll put him badly out of contention. There's Kevin Cogan going by with his one wing, and there's Rick Mears catching up with Kevin Cogan. Kevin Cogan, of course, being wingless at the front. Bobby Rahall in the pits.
Bobby Rahall is in the pits. Let's go to Gary Lee.
The pit stop has just been completed, a 3-tire change. They top off the fuel, and Rahall is underway.
Bobby was 3rd before the pit stop, rejoins the hunt, and has to feel pretty good right now about repeating as PPG champion. It hasn't been done since 1982, but Rahall could do it this afternoon.
Well, I guess really, Ray, I mean, there's Rick Mears coming in the Roger Penske car.
Here's Rick Mears getting service on his car. Bobby Rahall's pit stop was just shy of 14 seconds. And now Rick Mears. Kevin Cogan is also in the pit area, and they're replacing, or are they? They're the front wing on that car.
No, they didn't.
Still missing.
No. The trouble is the bar that holds the wing on is also missing, so it obviously got broken off. They'd need to replace the whole nose cone to do that, which I thought it would have been worth doing. There's Al Unser Jr. in.
Al Unser Jr. lost about 5 positions when the left rear tire went down. Here's Larry.
Well, you saw the car come in. They changed rubber on all 4 sides. They took the opportunity to put fuel in it, but it's a little premature of a stop for fuel. It puts them out of sync with their race plans and the rest of the field. So for little Al, for Al Unser Jr., the frustrations of this year continue in some strange fashions from time to time.
He has dropped to 10th right now as Mario Andretti continues to set the pace. He has not come in for his pit stop. We've completed 32 circuits now.
Mario Andretti driving a loader with the Chevrolet power. The Chevrolet cars did very, very well in qualifying. There's only 5 here, and all of them qualified in the top 10. So these cars have definitely got power. They haven't had exactly the reliability they're looking for yet, but they certainly are getting better and better. There's no doubt about it. Mario's still pulling away from Danny Sullivan too, slightly. He's about 6.5 seconds in front now.
That's Raul Boisel right ahead of Mario Andretti. And
Mario getting a bit loose as they come out of the corkscrew. He obviously wants Boisel to let him through here. Raul is the current world champion in world sports car racing in Europe. Drove the Jaguar Works car and has clinched the world championship for 1987. So he's obviously pretty happy, and we expect to see him on a regular basis in 1988 over here in IndyCar racing, and possibly doing IMSA as well for Jaguar.
it'll be interesting to see where Boisel does go in IndyCar racing if he indeed decides to come over here and race full time. Here's Danny Sullivan, who was 2nd, having just completed his stop and pulling back, rather pulling in now to his pits. His pits are among the last toward turn number 1. So Danny Sullivan.
They all seem to be coming in a slightly odd time to me. I mean, 28 laps, they're really 30 laps, 32 laps. I would have thought they needed to go for at least 37, unless they were going to do the short stop first, but they don't seem to be doing that.
Yeah, they do have an air jack problem with Danny Sullivan's car.
Turning that into a long stop, which is the last thing you need on a short lap like this.
Going to be a much slower stop than usual. Now the work is completed and Sullivan goes back out onto the racetrack, but it's almost a 30-second pit stop compared with about 14 for everybody else.
And that is only a 55-second lap. In fact, here comes Mario Andretti past the pits now, so he's only now about 15 to 20 seconds behind Danny Sullivan.
And there is Raul Boisel, who is in the STP car, normally driven by Roberto Guerrero, and we want to say our hellos to Roberto and wish him a speedy recovery and anticipate he is being back with us in IndyCar racing sometime next year.
He certainly seems to be making very good progress, which is incredibly good news for everybody concerned. obviously, especially for Roberto.
Vince Granatelli crew getting that car back out onto the racetrack as Mario Andretti comes down through the corkscrew, and we anticipate Mario Andretti stop this time around. We have Gary Lee standing by in his pits to describe the action. We'll see in just a couple of seconds here whether or not Mario is headed toward the pits, and indeed he is. So here comes the leader, Mario Andretti, in for the first of probably 2 pit stops during this 300-kilometer race. Let's go to Gary Lee.
Here comes the Lola, the Hanna car wash. Mario Andretti is in. It will be a 3-tire change. Only the left front will remain intact and not be changed. They top off the fuel. The Chevrolet-powered Lola is up on the jack. The left rear has been changed. They tighten down the right rear. A crew member runs to the back to give a push from the wing, and they are underway. Andretti is out, and the time on that one, 15.35 seconds.
Mario Andretti goes back out into the race.
The right side tires, of course, take a bit of a pasting on this predominantly left-handed circuit car, and some of these tires, I've heard, are getting a bit marginal on wear, which may be why some of these cars came in early just to check on the wear of the tire.
So Mario hangs on to the lead, makes a pit stop, and still maintains that front spot.
Which, of course, is a tremendously satisfying thing to do. Great for him, of course, and obviously a good show for the team to do such a quick stop, but that really puts you in a strong position. If you can have a pit stop and still hang on to the lead on a short circuit like this, I mean, that is money in the bank, it really is.
Without question, the strongest car at this point in the race. Mario Andretti leads this 300-kilometer event as Bobby Rahal now is second, Danny Sullivan third, then Jeff Brabham and John Andretti. We'll be right back. Jenkins, along with David Hobbs, Gary Lee, and Larry Newber back at Laguna Seca Raceway near Monterey, California. For this 300-kilometer IndyCar event, we have completed 37 out of 98 laps, and the leader is Mario Andretti by about 18 seconds over Bobby Rahal and about 21-second advantage over Danny Sullivan. We mentioned at the top of the show that the crowd here is unbelievable. It's the largest crowd I've ever seen here, and word from the Highway Patrol is when this race started about 45 minutes ago, traffic was backed up for 8 miles. So there are a lot of people that are going to miss this event simply because of traffic problems.
Oh dear, I was going to catch a plane 10 minutes after this race was over. I don't understand it.
I think we could probably settle back and wait for the evening to draw upon us before we start to get out of here, because it's going to be a mass exodus. There's just part of the crowd gathered here in what can only be described as beautiful weather.
Perfect race day for the drivers and the spectators. Not too hot and humid, and just great visibility. The track's in really, really good shape, so it's a lovely day to race.
While his dad leads, Michael Andretti is out of the race. Here's Gary Lee.
Michael, I recall so vividly a year ago at Phoenix when we talked to you after leading the race, losing the engine. The disappointment was in your face. It's the same disappointment we see right now. Can you verbalize your emotions?
Very, very disappointed. I think we had this race in the bag. The car was just fantastic. I was just really just laying back and taking care of my tires and not taking anything out of the car. I think we would have had it no problem.
Did you ever determine what the problem really was?
I think it's an alternator.
Well, you can hear the emotion in his voice as he sees his title chase end here at Laguna Seca.
Last year, he lost the championship in Miami. This year, he loses it at Laguna Seca. Now, here's our pit stop summary. Mario Andretti came in the lead and went out in the lead. Danny Sullivan went from second to third. Bobby Rahal, third to second. Jeff Brabham maintained his fourth place, and Rick Mears went from 8th to 5th.
Yes, poor old Mike Andretti. It's a bit of a tough day, but I mean, he's got to learn that racing is an incredibly frustrating sport. He is very young, and he has had a meteoric rise to the top, so he's got plenty of time to win championships and win races, but still very, very disappointing for him. As we saw his father, Mario, who's really got a lock on this race, lapped Rick Mears, who in fact qualified very well for Rick on a road course. Rick Mears and road courses are not generally known as great pals, but he qualified very, very well yesterday, qualified in 7th. But to show you the speed of this man here, Mario Andretti, he's already lapped him.
And with that pass. There are now only 4 cars on the lead lap as Rick Mears falls a lap down. The 4 cars are Andretti, Rahal, Sullivan, and Jeff Brabham. So indeed he is making a shambles of this event here in the first half. Derek Daly is in the pit area, and it appears to be more than just a routine stop for Derek also. He is getting some adjustments made to his visor and helmet, so at least 2 drivers have had that problem here in the early stages of this race. He was running 16th when he came in for this stop.
That's a bit distressing. And mind you, Derek Daly, well,
now in the car stalls, trying to get it started again. It appears it has a little bit of power, and yes, Derek now begins to move ever so slowly out of pit road.
Looks a bit like he's stuck in the wrong gear, maybe. No, he's going well now.
Well, Bobby Rahal's crew has just let him know by the pit board that Michael Andretti is out of the race. And as we watch the leader, Mario Andretti, if you were in that position, David, would it affect you? Would you kind of back off and just go for the championship, or would you race to the end?
Well, he can do both, can't he? Because he's got the championship now, whatever happens. Even if he drops out, he's still won the championship. So, in a way, he can go for broke now and try and win the race.
And the Hardy's race cam from inside Pancho Carter's car. You can see how Mario in front of Pancho is just pulling away from him. That Chevy engine and the Lola chassis working well for Mario Andretti.
I was watching him through this turn here, turn 9 onto the pit straight there the other day, and he was just absolutely the class of the field. He had that car set up, he turned into that corner, he didn't do any. Everybody else comes in, gives a bit of a dab on the throttle, the front picks up, gives a bit of a push to the outside. Mario just turned in and put his foot on the gas and just screamed up the straight. Was picking up time even on a really slow corner like that. So he's got this car really, really well dialed in.
Well, let's go to Gary Lee, who is with True Sports race director Steve Horn.
Steve Horn, I am not even involved in this team, but I can feel the lessening of the pressure down here once you guys found out that Michael Andretti was out. Apparently the championship is now yours. How does that change your strategy for this race?
Well, I don't really think it changes our strategy because I guess unbeknown to Michael, we've had a problem with Bobby lost first gear on a 5th lap, and so we're a little concerned ourselves about our position, but obviously I think it's a great tribute to this team and to Bobby to win it 2 years in a row.
You think Andretti right now, meaning Mario, is simply trying to bury the field again?
Well, Mario, obviously, you know, he just wants to win races, and so do we, but I think unless something happens to Mario, we're going to end up where we are right now.
You'd let Mario win this battle and you'll take the war.
Well, I don't think we'll let him win it, but we got a little problem with the car, so we'll let it be right now.
Riding in 3rd position right now is Danny Sullivan in a year-old March, and standing by with his crew chief is Larry Newber.
Well, Gary, they had an air hose problem of all things during the first pit stop. They got held up a little bit on track, they said, by Michael Andretti. The air hose problem put them back. A victory would be very important. They would get into the Marlboro Challenge. Chuck, are you guys flat out? Can you battle with Mario later in this race?
You'll have to repeat that. I'm sorry, Larry.
Are you flat out right now, or can you battle with Mario later in the race?
We're sort of biding our time. We didn't intend to be this far back. Of course, we had the problem with the air hose or the regulator to pit stop there, which really sort of threw a screw into the works. We don't want to push it too hard. We've heard there's some problems with Mario's engine, so we're just running a comfortable pace and hoping for the best. We're not nearly where we want to be.
Despite losing the ground, then, you pretty much still are where you want to be at this point in the race.
Yeah, just 20 seconds behind where we want to be, but other than that, we're happy with the car and everything else.
Well, Bob and David, I can tell you that his driver is doing better than he did. This is a guy who ran into the back of me in my rental car on the way into the track this morning. But don't tell Avis.
There's Danny Sullivan, and now the battle for second is heating up pretty well, David. There is Danny Sullivan, but just ahead of him is Bobby Rahal. Now, Derek Daly was between the two, but Danny has passed Derek, and now nobody between second and third, Rahal and Danny Sullivan.
Actually, I'm not surprised to hear he lost first, because when Danny Sullivan first passed Bobby Rahal, he did it down at that turn 9, and Rahal looked slow through 9, which obviously he would be if he's going around there in second, and he really wants to go through in first. So it'll be interesting to see if Danny Sullivan can wind him in here.
Well, Chuck Sprague referred to the fact that he hears that Mario Andretti has a problem with the engine. There is certainly no evidence of that right now, as he has about a 20-second lead over Rahal, Sullivan, Brabham, and Mears. About 18, almost 19 seconds Bobby Rahal. Just to recap for you, Michael Andretti is out of the race, and thus the championship for 1987 in IndyCars goes to Bobby Rahal, and the Porsche didn't last very long as it has dropped out of competition with what appears to be a water pump problem. Those two are the stories that we were watching closely, but this is now the story that we watch. It's the battle for second, Bobby Rahal and Danny Sullivan.
Pretty good race going on there, but obviously Bobby Rahal, you can't tell on his performance today because he's got this championship locked up. He could either really go for broke to try and win the race, because it really wouldn't matter if he dropped out. On the other hand, of course, you'd like to really sock it to the rest of the competitors by scoring as many points as he possibly can.
And Raul Boesel is right ahead of Bobby Rahal and Danny Sullivan, but Boesel is a lap down and is shown at the moment in 7th spot as Rahal looks to the inside now of Boesel at the top of the corkscrew coming downhill. We'll see if Bobby and Danny Sullivan can pass Boesel.
That car of Boesel has been very, very fast this year. We saw Roberto Guerrero do extremely well in that car on a number of occasions. Of course, Al Unser Sr. drove it on a one-shot deal at Nazareth just a few weeks ago and was going electrifyingly well until he was pushed out by Jeff McPherson. And it's a bit of a surprise to see Raul Boesel, who really is a very experienced road racer, not going quite as fast this weekend as perhaps we thought he would. Obviously, there's some malfunction in the setup of the car, because this really is a very crucial car for setup.
Emerson Fittipaldi has come in for a second time. This is a serious situation, it appears, for Emerson Fittipaldi. The crew talking with MO, and it may be a fuel management system problem. Let's go to Gary.
We had indeed, Bob, heard earlier there was a fuel consumption problem on the Marlboro car. Now, we went to Jim McGee. I said, do you have enough fuel to go the distance? He said, we don't have a problem. Well, obviously, there is a problem now. The two-time world driving champion is seated in a car that has a very quiet power plant right now. The Chevy has been shut down, and momentarily, MO will be climbing out. So whether it's ignition, fuel management, lack of fuel, fuel pickup, there is a problem that will sideline Emerson Fittipaldi.
Fittipaldi was in 14th spot before coming in and apparently retiring from competition. Of course, Emerson won 2 races this year in kart competition back-to-back at Cleveland and at Toronto, and is 8th in the point standings. Now, once again, this battle for second and third, which really is not that close anymore, as Bobby Rahal has put a little bit of racetrack between himself and third place Danny Sullivan.
And they all seem to be staying just about stationary with Mario Andretti, who's got round about a 20-second lead, and that's where it's staying. He's not driving away from them. They're not catching him up. So it's all incredibly static at the moment. Well, Gary Lee's down in the pits, and I think he's got Emerson Fittipaldi with him, another disappointed man.
Highs and lows of this racing season. He won twice back-to-back earlier this year. What was the problem this time?
From lap 1, the fuel distributor was wrong. The engine was running too rich. I stopped like 5 laps before I should stop. I ran out of fuel, and they made a fuel calculation. I was going to be short like 17 laps on the fuel, and there was no way to continue. The engine was firing badly, and I couldn't perform well, and I couldn't finish the race.
Was there any thought on your part, or the thought of the brain trust here in the pit area, of staying out there, perhaps limping as long as you could to pick up some points?
Yeah, but the problem, I would like to stay there, but I cannot stay there if I have no fuel. I was going to run out of fuel anyway, even driving slow, because the fuel consumption is completely wrong.
So an early spectator out here. There is Emerson Fittipaldi. We'll see him in the Marlboro Challenge.
And we'll have the Marlboro Challenge for you here on ESPN in about 3 weeks' time, the day before the final kart event at Tamiami Park in Miami. 51 laps have been completed now. We're past the halfway point, and Mario Andretti is on his way to a third victory of 1987. He won the opener at Long Beach, and he won on the Elkhart Lake Road America road course, and is now 19 seconds ahead of Bobby Rahal here today. Our Napa mid-race recap shows you that Mario has led 43 of the 49 laps. The others were led by son Michael, who has dropped out, and his margin over Rahal is about 20.29 seconds. There are 4 cars on the lead lap: Andretti, Sullivan, Rahal, and Jeff Brabham. We've had 2 leaders and 1 lead change, and 19 cars remain on the racetrack. And these 5 have retired from competition. The Porsche, driven by Al Unser, out. So is Michael Andretti, Ludwig Heimrath Jr., Dale Coyne, and the most recent Emerson Fittipaldi behind the pit wall.
There is our leader. Mario Andretti getting onto the binder's edge. He comes into the corkscrew, being cut off by his old pal JR. Johnny Rutherford, Lone Star JR, who, if you remember, just a few weeks ago at Nazareth, had old Mario into the wall there. So I bet Mario's mouthing a few Italian obscenities in the cockpit. Is that about to put a lap down on now?
That's Jeff McPherson now, right ahead.
He's already lapped him once.
Right.
Or twice.
Johnny Rutherford had a rather hard crash yesterday in the final practice session. They couldn't get the car repaired in time, and that's the reason he starts his backup car and began this race from the last row. Mario Andretti flying around Jeff McPherson in the number 11 car. McPherson is shown in 11th position.
Now that was a pretty serious brake lock that Mario had as he stopped behind Johnny Rutherford there coming into the corkscrew last time round. And of course that's the sort of thing that can put a horrible flat spot on the tire, which of course then gives you nasty vibration for the rest of the race, or at least till you stop to change the tire again, which can be very upsetting.
52 of 98 laps are completed. There are the top 5, and they're 6 through 10 at Laguna. Here on ESPN at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on the 31st of October, Saturday. It'll be from Tamiami Park in Miami, and that will be our final kart race of the year that we'll televise for you here on ESPN. Join us. The Marlboro Challenge, that will feature 10 cars and drivers. Now, of course, they choose the pole winners and the race winners from 1987, and then those highest in points that have not won a pole or a race will complete the 10-car field for the Marlboro Challenge. Well, we're inside Jeff Brabham's car once again, and he is running in 4th position. However, is just about to be lapped because that red car right behind Jeff Brabham is our leader, Mario Andretti. Let's see if he makes the move coming up here toward turn 1. Apparently he does, and Randy Lewis has gone off course. That's right down there by turn number 2 that Randy has got off the course and is climbing out of the machine.
The car doesn't look in bad shape, which is pretty lucky for old RL, I can tell you, because that's a nasty place to go zipping off the road. Extremely high speed. Mario's put a really good clean pass onto Jeff Brabham there, which leaves only 3 cars on the lead lap. However, they are only 20 seconds behind him, so he's unlikely to lap Rahal or Danny Sullivan at this stage, although Sullivan is actually losing a bit of ground now to Bobby Rahal.
We understand that Randy Lewis's car, as it came by the front straightaway, was without power, so perhaps it was just more of a pull off the course rather than an excursion off the course.
It would certainly seem that it wasn't an excursion, too much of an excursion, because if he went off there, he'd have obviously hit something pretty hard, you'd think.
Vince Granatelli is the crew chief on this car that Raul Boisel is driving here this weekend. Let's go to the pits.
Not only is Vince Granatelli a crew chief, he's also the team owner with all the money behind it. Now, one of the drivers, we talked about the Marlboro Challenge, that is qualified for the challenge at Tamiami Park is Roberto Guerrero. He is injured. He is to be there as a spectator. He'll not be driving, so who's your choice to drive your car in the challenge?
We're probably going to put Raul Boisel in the car to drive the True Value STP car because we feel that he's our best replacement at this point until we get Roberto back.
But as a car owner, though, you've covered all the bases because you thought maybe your driver would have a chance to win this race today, and for that reason, you bought another kart membership.
If we can win this race today, then we'll have qualified 2 cars for the Marlboro Challenge, and Roberto's car will be one of them, and this car that we're running today will be the 2nd car.
We heard that part of his convalescent back in Indianapolis was playing golf this morning. Have you talked to Roberto today?
I don't know why he's playing golf today. He ought to be here with us. That's what we miss him.
If he's well enough to play golf, he's well enough to race, right?
He's close enough as far as we're concerned.
Big smile from Vince Granatelli. We've not seen that smile in a couple of weeks.
Well, Roberto Guerrero will be the Grand Marshal for that last race of the year in Miami, so he'll be back with us on the circuit, not as in the capacity of race driver, but it'll be nice just to see Roberto Roberto and Katie and Marco back with us on the IndyCar trail. Raul Boisel doing a fine job of substituting for Roberto. He is in 7th position. ESPN and coverage of the Champion Sparkplug 300 IndyCar race from Laguna Seca. We're not the only ones here covering this event, however. Here is a quick fact. Quick facts are brought to you by new Quaker State with QSX. Keeps your engine cleaner to last longer.
For you race fans and ESPN viewers in particular, this is where it all happens. This is where the live images of all the races that you see are put together here in the truck control room on site at the track. These pictures are then sent via satellite into your living rooms. These pictures are seen nationwide and very often around the world. The people at ESPN are not the only ones taking pictures here this weekend. Photojournalist David Hudson from Kansas City also attends every race. He takes still pictures. It's because of David's work that people around the world see the color and glamour of IndyCar racing in newspapers and magazines.
Our friend Derek Daly is 14th. The leader is Mario Andretti, and his advantage over Bobby Ray Hall is about 21 seconds, and the advantage over third place Danny Sullivan, 22 seconds. Those are the only 3 cars on the lead lap. We'll be right back after this. Tuesday night, the 15th of October, live here on ES. Now here you can see some heavy-duty equipment that is in place and ready to go to work as soon as this race is over in some new construction that will be done here at Laguna. They're going to make kind of a dog leg that increases the length of this track, and I guess one of the reasons that being thought of is the possibility of bringing a Formula One race here to this course.
Well, the owners here seem to be very keen, or Scramp, which actually are not the owners. The owners here are the county. Scramp is a voluntary group that run this race course, and they're hoping to bring Formula One motorcycle racing and Formula One racing here. And of course, to do that, they have to have a slightly longer racetrack.
There's Kevin Cogan, who entered the pits in 8th position. You can see the front wing on the right side of the car missing, and the word we got from the crew was that they were not going to change or correct the situation there on the front wing unless there was a full course yellow. But it appears as if Kevin Cogan is suffering some major mechanical problems that is forcing the crew now to take the engine cover off and examine further the engine compartment.
When he was going past here the last 2 or 3 laps, the engine has sounded very, very rough, and of course they made a pretty slack stop there. They weren't in any rush to do it.
Here's our 2nd place, Bobby Rahal, in for his 2nd pit stop of the afternoon. We're on lap number 65, so we got 33 more laps to go, and that should be enough to carry Rahal the rest of the way. And it's a pretty quick stop for Bobby as he roars off once again. There is Rick Mears, the 5th place car, in for his 2nd stop of the afternoon. It's going to be a good stop for Rick also as they tighten the left front, and Rick goes back into competition.
I noticed on Rahal's car when he left the pits, he had a brand new tire on it. Actually had the sticker on it, which is unusual for these guys. They don't usually put brand new tires on. They like to run them in practice and get a heat cycle into the tires before they use them in the race. So it's unusual to put an absolutely unused tire on.
Ari Lyondike is 8th. He's in the pits, and so is Jeff Brabham, who is carrying our in-car camera, and Jeff remains in 4th position, but he is not on the lead lap.
Having his helmet attended to again, too. Sticking that visor down again with a piece of blue tape to match the...
It's a long pit stop, and it's also going to be a long pit stop for Pancho Carter as he has stalled that car, and they're backing up into his pit. Meanwhile, Jeff Brabham, the car that was right ahead of Pancho Carter, is back out on course.
Yeah, we see him going through turn 2, just picking up speed again. One of the reasons, of course, they don't put brand new tires on these cars, and when I say brand, I mean unused tires at all, is because they do change size. And it's as well to find all that sort of thing out in practice.
Well, Carter is having all kinds of problems getting out of the pit area because this is the 2nd time that he's killed the car, and they once again back him up and put the starter in.
Now, we don't know what's wrong. Of course, he may be stuck in the wrong gear. He may be stuck in, say, third or fourth gear, in which case he can't accelerate very well.
Here's our second-place driver, Danny Sullivan, in for a stop, and Larry Nuber is right there.
So far, it's been a great day for Danny Sullivan. He comes in with lots of oil splattered on the nose of the car, but that is routine on a race like this and a day like today. Danny Sullivan having a strong day. He's running comfortably up into the top 3. Al Unser Jr., a little bit up the road, about 4 pit stalls, has also come in for a pit stop. They're changing the left side rubber, now to, rather the right side rubber, now to the left side rubber. Remember, he got out of sync a few laps ago. Little Al's chances for victory do not look good here today.
There is Al Unser Jr., who has gotten everything tightened up and is back in competition. Let's go to Gary Lee for this call of the Mario Andretti stop, and there may be a problem.
Be a stop per se, and yeah, it's a stop, but he's not going back out at least immediately. The engine is dead. There is no power from the Chevrolet, and that would put Bobby Rahal back up with a chance to win his 4th in a row. Andretti is climbing out. The day is over for Mario Andretti, who had totally dominated this race. He had a 20-second advantage at one time. He came in for what was going to be a pit stop about 2 or 3 laps early. He shakes his hand, throws his hands down in a disgusting motion, and he wants a little time, I know, to collect his thoughts. We can see also the frustration, the disappointment in his eyes as we look through the opening in that full-face helmet. The crew was prepared for his second and last pit stop. He was scheduled to come in about 2 or 3 laps. He really caught the crew by surprise when he came in, but the power was off in the Chevrolet.
Mario Andretti has got to be saying, let's get this year over with and go on to 1988. It has been a very frequent scenario with Mario Andretti dominating a race until the latter stages when he drops out of competition. That is the situation here at Laguna Seca. Mario Andretti is out. Michael was one of the first out, but the race continues, and we'll be right back. Back at Laguna Seca, and the lead now goes to Bobby Rahal as Mario Andretti has dropped out of the race. And now he has about a 3 or 4 second lead on Danny Sullivan. So Bobby Rahal is on his way to his 4th consecutive win on this racetrack.
Don't keep saying it. You said Mario Andretti was going to win about 5 minutes ago. I was just about to have cardiac arrest then. This scenario, I mean, look at him getting held up here badly by the Brabham car. Actually, that's not the Brabham car. Here's the Brabham car. But it is just in front of Bobby Rahal, and he won't be wishing it any great luck at the moment because not very far behind B. Rahal is Danny Sullivan. And we're having an exact replay, of course, of last year's scenario when Bobby Rahal won this race from Danny Sullivan by what I was, 1.5, 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's less than 3 seconds now between Bobby Rahal and Danny Sullivan, 1st and 2nd. Rahal looking for number 4 in a row at Laguna. The only other driver to win an IndyCar race here at this racetrack, Teo Bobby.
And he still hasn't got his way around young Jeffrey Brabham there. There's Danny Sullivan in hot pursuit as he goes streaks up the hill into the left-handed hairpin here at the corkscrew.
David just pointed out, Sullivan finished just behind Bobby Rahal last year, and we're set up for the same situation this year, possibly, although there are more than 20 more laps to go. There is Jeff Brabham as Bobby Rahal is right in front of him.
Boy, you just start to say Mario Andretti. That Mario Andretti does have some atrocious luck, no doubt about it. I mean, it's hard to say that a man that's won the millions that Mario has and the adulation and the fact that he's won so many races and has luck, tough luck, but he certainly does seem to be having more than his fair share this year.
The number 4 car and the 30 car are running together on the racetrack. 5th and 6th, Raul Boisel, a fine job, and Al Unser Jr. behind him in 6th position. It's been a pretty impressive performance for Boisel, who has not competed in IndyCars so far this year, but is stepping in to take the place of Roberto Guerrero.
And Al Jr., of course, coming back to speed. Earlier on, we saw him having a titanic duel with Jeff Brabham at the beginning of this race when they were running for 4th and 5th spot. And here he goes, having a go down the inside. No, locked up the left front there as he turned into the corkscrew. Have to have another go later on. It looks like he will get round Boisel, there's no doubt about it.
Let's go to the pit area, and our condolences to Mario Andretti.
Well, we have seen over the years bitter disappointment in a quiet manner, but Mario, I think you probably were as animated today as you've ever been in frustration.
Well, obviously. You know, it's a great disappointment. Everything was working perfect. The car was good. Everything was going as we had hoped, and then the engine just let go in a big way.
How much indication did you have, or for how many laps, that there was a problem in the engine compartment behind you?
Well, it just let go.
Obviously just a very slight smile, but a lot of frustration from Mario Andretti.
So Bobby Rahal now in the lead with this man, Danny Sullivan, chasing him, and the lead has opened up now in the last couple of laps. It was less than 3. Now it's about 4.5 seconds. And right ahead of Danny Sullivan on the racetrack is Arie Luyendyk.
Is that Arie Luyendyk? Well, yeah, it is too, yeah. Now, Arie Luyendyk, of course, has come up through the field and is running an 8th spot at the moment.
Luyendyk most likely, in fact almost certainly, will be in the Marlboro Challenge because he is highest in points among the non-winners. And another one that stands a very good chance of getting in the Marlboro Challenge is Jeff Brabham, who is 10th in points, has not won a race.
Well, there's 2 disappointed Marios here because the engine builder of that Chevrolet is Mario Ilian from just down the road from where I live in England. And he is the builder of that Chevrolet engine. He's here to watch the cars today. And the Chevrolet engines, with the exception, of course, of Danny Sullivan, who's lying in 2nd spot, have not had a very good race day, although they had great qualifying.
There you can see Luyendyk, 2nd in laps completed, 86%. Good percentage for Arie. Well, let's go to Larry Newber, who is doing some weather observations down on pit road. Larry?
Well, Bob, it's not enough to be a crack mechanic or a computer whiz to operate down in the pits of a modern Indianapolis car. You have to be a meteorologist also. And is today a great day or what? Look at this. Here is the relative humidity, 50%. Can it be more pleasant? The temperature is 72 degrees. I know that's what I like to sleep in. And the relative humidity here, or rather the barometric pressure, is 29.7, and it's risen in the last half hour or so. So the weather conditions are perfect. Now, before I throw it down to the other end to Gary Lee, who incidentally is a real-life television meteorologist, one comment about the fuel consumption. Here in the Danny Sullivan pit, they stopped on lap 33, lap 66. It's a 98-lap race. They say they can go 34 laps, so right now they're trying to calculate how much they can turn their boost up or down. They're not so sure about Rahal. He may be a little closer than these guys. Gary?
Well, Larry, I don't need all those instruments to tell us we've got a beautiful day here. We talked earlier about the pleasant surprise we've had from the recovery of Roberto Guerrero from very serious head injuries. We're also pleasantly surprised to tell you right here, Johnny Parsons is walking around this weekend without crutches after suffering some very serious injuries to the lower extremities in practice at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. JP, it's nice to see you without the crutches. How's the progress?
Coming along real good, Gary. It's good to be seen without the crutches. Feeling better every day.
Back in a race car when?
Hopefully we'll be back in something by the end of November, maybe testing, if not racing.
You know, you drivers have an uncanny ability to come back from an injury faster than anybody else. There was some talk early on after your injury at the Speedway in Indianapolis that you might not be walking for a long, long time, and racing would be really tough for you. You've surprised a lot of people.
Well, I guess I was just in good shape, Gary, and had some good company, and the Lord was really helping us in the healing process. We feel real good. It's coming along good. Better than the doctors expected, really.
We're glad to have you with us. We'll see you back in a race car real soon.
It's good to be out. We'll be back soon.
Nice big smile from Johnny Parsons.
All right, thank you, guys. Bobby Rahal has won the PPG IndyCar World Series title for 1987. That occurred earlier in the race when Michael Andretti dropped out. The question is, can Rahal hang on to his lead and win 4 consecutive events here at Laguna Seca? His lead over Sullivan is just about 7 seconds. Here on ESPN at 3:20 in the afternoon Eastern Time, the Formula One race from Mexico. And of course, they're looking to wrap up the championship in that series also. If Nelson Piquet can win, he'll become the world driving champion. But of course, Mansell and Prost and Senna are also right in the thick of the points battle. Jackie Stewart, Peter Warren, John Bizignano for you at the Formula One race of Mexico, live next Sunday at 3:20 Eastern Time.
Well, look who's just walked in the door. Jackie, what do you think about next week's race in Mexico?
Well, Davey, I think it's got a good chance of young, what's his name, winning the championship in his Honda-powered car, because he's done so very well this year, and he's going to dust up Nigel Mansell. And I see you got a bit of a problem here with Derek Daly from Ireland there.
David, you have me scared.
Another Gaelic man there pulling off. Now he's going down the hill now. Is he going to go into the pits, or is everything all right? No, he's going to go into the pits. Hey, Larry, he's going to go in the pits. And there's Danny Sullivan in second. I'll hand it back to you, Davey, and to Bobby there. Wee Bobby. He's so tall, isn't he, Bobby? You stand next to him in the commentary and you feel like a little twit. I mean, you're only 3 foot tall. He's about 8 foot tall. I mean, I'm going to stand in the box next time we do it.
Thank you, Jackie, very much. Now go to Mexico, and we'll see you next Sunday. Well, Rahal is really opening up the gap now. It's up to almost 9 seconds. It's been a steady progression. At one point, it was less than 3, about 2.7, but now it's up to 8.92 seconds. So Bobby Rahal is pulling away from Danny Sullivan. And Sullivan is the only other car on the lead lap. Then Jeff Brabham, Rick Mears, and Raul Boesel. Well, the pressure was great when Bobby Rahal came here this weekend, not only to win the race, but to wrap up the championship. And we asked Rahal, do you put any pressure on yourself?
No, you know, like last year, you know, when we had a chance for 3 in a row. I mean, yeah, that's wonderful if you can do it, but let's face it, the odds are pretty slim that you can do that. And, you know, I just went out to try to win the race, and I think my attitude is the same this year. We're gonna do everything we can to win this motor race, and if we do that, then we'll win 4 in a row. Then we'll win the championship. You know, all the other things will take care of themselves. But I'm more concerned with winning this race, not worrying about the championship.
Well, he already has won the championship, and now the question is, can he win the race? With 81 laps completed, we're less than 20 from the finish. Bobby Rahal, if he wins this afternoon, will establish the 5th win for Lola of 1987. Mario has won twice, and Bobby has won twice with the Lola, and could make it 3 today. We're watching the interval here between 1st and 2nd. There is Danny Sullivan coming down the hill, headed for turn number 8, but it's about 8 seconds. And there is Roger Penske, Danny Sullivan's car owner, who is watching from the pit area and hoping that Danny can somehow pull off a win.
Flashing his gold Rolex there to the adoring crowds. There's Rick Mears, his 2nd car.
And Rick is 4th.
Rick's having a very good day out there today. And obviously this will do the fortunes of the Penske team. Of course, Penske next year, they're going to run a new car. Nigel Bennett, who was the designer on Mario Andretti's car, has left. He's already back in England working on a new chassis for Roger Penske, because Roger Penske's not a quitter, and he definitely wants to see a Penske-built car right up there. Both of his drivers at the moment are using last year's Lolas, and obviously holding their end up pretty well, too.
Well, Roger had high hopes coming into the 87 season about the PC-16, but it just didn't work out, and now he's hoping that the new Penske car will be more successful. Let's go to Larry, who's with Roger.
Well, Roger, as you guys explained, is trying to keep track of both cars. Roger, any feelings about Danny? Now, he seems to be slipping back a little bit from Bobby, but maybe Bobby can't go the distance.
Well, I'm really not following that car that close. I'm watching Rick. We're catching Brabham here a little bit. We had a bad stop, evidently, on the first stop with Danny. The air jack didn't work, and it put us about 15 seconds behind Rahal, but still a long race.
Rick has come a long ways this year, though. This has been a good season for Rick. He's still on that upward climb coming back.
Well, I think Rick's done a great job. Both drivers have, and, you know, we haven't given them the best equipment to run all year, so as usual, they've done a great job for us.
What of next year? Definitely back to Penske Chevrolet power?
Absolutely. We've got Nigel Bennett in our PC-17 with a Chevy, so we're counting on it with our same 2 drivers.
Well, Gary Lee has been keeping tabs on our leader, Bobby Rahal. What about, Gary? What does it look like down there?
Well, if you look over the shoulder here in the Rahal pit, you can see a few very faint smiles. They know they have the championship. It looks like they may have this race as well, the 4th in a row. Now, we understand that Jeff Brabham, who is carrying a camera on board, has spun. We'll go back to the top side and come back and talk more about strategy here with Rahal. Bob?
Yeah, that's exactly what's happened. Jeff Brabham has spun. It looks like near the top of the corkscrew. And so much for that battle that was shaping up between Rick Mears and Jeff Brabham. It's gone away, and Rick Mears has gone into 3rd.
Well, I tell you what, if Rick Mears is going to come 3rd in this race, that will make a dramatic change to his points, this situation in the championship. He's currently lying 7th. But if he comes third, he will jump right up into fourth and displace Harry Lyondike for fourth spot. Very likely.
So Jeff Brabham has that car going once again, but he definitely lost a lot of valuable time and positions, as a matter of fact, and it appears as if he had a problem getting around one of the slower cars.
I think that's John Richards.
Yeah, the car of John Richards.
Yeah.
And Raul Boycel's car is showing some fire at the engine compartment, probably a turbo fire, but enough to eliminate him. Raul has pulled off course. You can see the steam and the smoke coming from the engine compartment of that race car as Raul tries to climb out.
Well, and truly firing up there.
That's in turn number 4, and the fire crews are right there to extinguish any blaze. But, boy, this is an unfortunate ending to Raul Boycel's day, as he now falls to 5th and will continue to fall as the others come by. Here's Jeff Brabham, and this is what it looked like from the in-car camera.
Yeah, he tried to pass him on the inside going to the corkscrew, and I don't know whether they touched or not, but he's not happy at all, no.
So Jeff Brabham was 3rd and has fallen all the way down to 6th now because of that incident at the top of the corkscrew. It's a 9-second advantage now that Bobby Rahal has on Danny Sullivan. Rick Mears now runs 3rd. Al Unser Jr. is 4th, and Brabham down to 5th. Boycel is 6th, has just dropped out. Lyondike, then John Andretti, Jose Legarza, Jeff McPherson, and Jeff Wood. So we have completed now 86 laps out of 98 at the Champion Spark Plug 300.
When 4-time Indy was
in the closing laps of this Champion Spark Plug 300-kilometer race, this is a dice for position. Rick Mears in yellow and Al Unser Jr. in red, white, and blue. Rick 3rd, Al Unser Jr. 4th.
And they're just coming up to put a lap on Harry Lyondike in the number 71 car, and Al Unser has made great strides in moving up here on Rick Mears, and obviously he'll want to try and snatch that position away from him the last 10 laps.
Been a good race for Al Unser Jr. Here is the pass. He locks up the brakes. They come out of the corner side by side. Who has the most power coming up? It's going to be Mears.
Well, of course, see, that's one of the problems with overtaking people into tight corners like that, is you get yourself horribly offline, and the guy who's taking the more relaxed wide line can come off the corner better. So it's something you've really got to get right. Now, no, hang on a minute. Maybe Al Unser's having a problem. He seems to have dropped right back.
Well, and Rick
Mears getting the wheel off the edge, thinking that Al Unser's right behind him because he hasn't looked yet to see he's not.
It appeared as if Al Unser Jr.'s car hesitated there coming off the corner that allowed Rick to go so far ahead, and I don't think he is nearly as fast as he was just a few minutes ago.
Now, here we're going to see a replay of the pass, or the attempted pass. They come into that 9. This is the place where I was saying people are going to make a lot of passing efforts, and Al Unser Jr. slips down the inside of Rick Mears, who's got a wide line there. He's taking the correct line to go through the corner pass. And now, of course, Al Unser is really pinned in there tight to the apex. And as they unwind, Rick Mears has got more road, and he's got a freer line. And, of course, as they stand on the gas, he's got a slightly better chance of accelerating. But I'm not sure that, in fact, Al Unser didn't have some sort of a problem with his car.
And Al Unser Sr., the driver of the Porsche, who dropped out very, very early in this race, is with our Larry Newber.
It was one of the headline stories of today. Right now, Al's watching son Al Jr. out there racing. I know it was a frustrating weekend. Well, what about your thoughts, just off the top of your head?
Well, it was a hard weekend. It's one of those weeks that you wonder why it all happens. But you know, when you take a new car like this and a new team and you start out like we did, it's going to be hard. It doesn't make any difference, and that's what makes racing so great as it is the good times versus the bad times.
Al, at once I was admiring the fact they started out with a clean sheet of paper. That was not a clone of a Lola or a March, but on the other hand, they did a lot of things that are almost revolutionary. Do you have a feel, did they go the wrong direction, or is it just a matter of finding the right setup?
I think somewhat they've gone the wrong way. Now, whether they have or not, I'm not a designer and I'm not an aerodynamics man or anything else, so I really can't say. In other words, the car should have, I think, been a little bit better out of the box.
Well, Al's going to spend the rest of the afternoon watching Al Jr. We're going to keep our eyes on Rahal, see if he can hold on for this victory.
Obviously not going to drive the ball again, right? You do not say things like that about our car.
Well, Al Alonzer Jr. is in 4th position at the moment, but the lead continues to be held by Bobby Rahal, and the advantage over second place Danny Sullivan is 14.5 seconds. 93 laps completed, 5 more to go in the Laguna Seca 300 champion spark plug race as Bobby Rahal has things in hand. Danny Sullivan second, Mears is third, followed by Alonzer Jr. and Jeff Brabham. Let's go to Gary Lee.
If you've noticed in the pit stops, Bobby Rahal has stopped 2 or 3, maybe 4 laps earlier than the other competitors. We asked Steve Horn if this dictated a problem in fuel management. He said, no, the pit area is very tight. We want a clean pit, so we pit early. Obviously, the next question was, do you have enough fuel then to go the distance? He said, yeah, we're in good shape. So it looks like the national title and perhaps one more victory here at Laguna Seca for the man from Ohio, Bobby Rahal.
It will be Bobby Rahal's 3rd victory of 1987, should he hang on for the next 4 laps, and Johnny Rutherford is backing up into pit road. Johnny Rutherford has been running very slowly on the racetrack the last few laps, and it appears as if the engine just completely hand grenaded there, and as soon as it did, he pulled off the course and got himself out of the line of traffic.
He was going very slowly, as is Derek Daly, and I'm not sure that it's a very good idea for the officials to let these guys go around at a very, very much reduced speed, especially on such a high-speed course as this. I also want to just set the record straight before you all sit down at home with your pens and papers. I said that Roger Penske's team was running, of course, 86 Lolas. They are, of course, running 86 Marches, not Lolas. But they are a year old, and as we can see from the way that Sullivan and Mears are going, obviously holding their end up pretty well at the end of the 87 season.
Well, it's going to be interesting next year to see if the 86 Marches are going to perhaps be competitive with the 87 and the 88s. I know there are at least a couple of crew members and team owners that are going to boycott the buying of 88 Marches. They think they're too high. And Andy Kenopinski of the Machinists Union told me that yesterday. He's been the largest customer of March, and he simply told us yesterday that he is not going to buy an 88 chassis. He's going to run the 87s. And there may be others in that category, but on the other hand, March is trying to explain that most of the cost increase is because of the exchange rate. A 9% increase in the industrial index in England, plus the value of the pound versus the dollar.
Well, because when you're talking about pounds and dollars and rates of exchange, you've got to remember that a chassis from March, less the engine, this does not include the engine, so it won't actually go unless you push it across the workshop floor, costs $250,000.
Of course, the cost of a Cosworth engine is also going up. There's Danny Sullivan, who's in second, but it's a 20-second interval now between first and second. Sullivan with a fine ride, and Rick Mears, his teammate, also with a good performance today. They're second and third for Roger Penske.
I think that possibly the fuel consumption gremlin has got to Danny Sullivan with the Chevrolet engine, and the Cosworth of Bobby Rahal's must be just a little bit more fuel efficient, and I would say that Sullivan's probably turned the boost down just a little bit.
There are still 14 cars out there. 10 have dropped out of competition. Bobby Rahal looking for win number 3 of the year and win number 4 here at Laguna Seca. His other 2 victories in 1987 have come at Portland and at the Meadowlands.
Well, any man that can win 4 races and the same circuit on the trot, I think I'm going to go and sleep in his broom cupboard or something for a bit and try and get, I mean, that is incredibly fortunate, whichever way you look at it.
And this time around, Bobby Rahal should be receiving the white flag. 96 are complete, and now lap 97 should go into the books. There is the white flag, and Bobby Rahal is on his last circuit of this 1.9-mile road course. The Dublin, Ohio driver has come here and done what he had to do. He has won the 1987 PPG Championship. That occurred very early in the race when Michael Andretti experienced spark box problems that caused him to come into the pits. And also, he has come in here and won his 4th consecutive on this racetrack.
Well, hasn't actually won it yet. He's got to get down to the flag, but I mean,
it looks pretty good.
It looks pretty good at the moment. From where we sit, it looks good. I don't know what happened to Al Jr. He made that one passing attempt at Rick Mears at the hairpin, which didn't come off, and he's dropped back a little bit since. I think maybe he's got a gearbox problem. I don't know.
And now here is Bobby Rahal in corner number 9, the final one. He can coast home to victory from here. Off the corner, and here's the checkered flag. Bobby Rahal wins the Champion Spark Plug 300 from Laguna Seca. A win in the race and a victory in the overall championship. Wife Debbie, and here comes Danny Sullivan, and he's going to finish second. He comes off the corner. He also takes the checkered flag. Danny Sullivan finishes in second, and the third place finisher should be his teammate Rick Mears.
Rick Mears coming to turn 9 now.
There is Rick as he comes off corner number 9. So the Penske cars perform well, finishing second and third. Mears takes the checkered. Here is Bobby Rahal on the cool down lap. Victory lane will be a double celebration, a win in the race and PG championship. We'll be back for it right after this. 1987, a victory here and the PPG IndyCar World Series title. There is Bobby with wife Debbie, and here is Larry Newber.
Yeah, your timing is either very good or very bad, as Bobby is now making all the congratulations, or receiving the congratulations from the crew, including Debbie. Bobby, this is the way to win a championship, to go out in style winning a race, isn't it?
Well, I'll tell you, I think we had a little bit of luck. Mario was running strong, but our first set of tires was our worst set. We decided we'd start out with that, and I had trouble getting in the first gear, and Danny got ahead of me. And but that first pit stop was fabulous. I mean, they got me ahead of Danny, and that set of tires was really good, and the third set was even better, and just a great weekend for us.
In the beginning stages, was it difficult to ignore the progress of Michael? I mean, you must have had your mind as Steve Horn comes in here. Congratulations from team leader and team driver. Back to the question about Michael again. Was it difficult to kind of keep your mind off him? You had to be keeping pace inside.
Well, you know, the first lap, I mean, that's the worst start I've seen Mario ever get in my life.
And you're behind him.
But it was early, and I felt, you know, we were staying with him. And there was a lot of race left, and I wasn't going to go crazy at that point. It's, as I've said to people, Michael's a tremendous competitor, and I have a great deal of respect for him. He's a gentleman. I'm sure he's disappointed, and we've all been disappointed, but he'll have his chance.
Second championship in a row. They don't come very often, 2 in a row. It must be a particularly gratifying feeling, particularly when you think back 10 years ago where you were.
When I think back 10 years ago where I was, I'm amazed I'm even here, as you know, Larry, and it's magic. You know, I don't know if it's really sunk in. Winning 1 championship was a dream come true. Winning 2, I guess your dreams keep going, and now on to Miami. Let's try to win that one and put another win in our column, and then we work on number 3 next year.
A week ago, after an IMSA GTP race, we declared him the champion of the state of Ohio. Now he's the champion of Laguna Seca, and still reigning.
The Portland, Grace, Meadowlands, and Laguna Seca, the 3 wins for Bobby Rahal in 1987. And those plus other very fine finishes allow Bobby to win the PPG championship. Back in a moment. Well, Bobby Rahal celebrates the win and the PPG championship. Danny Sullivan also has some celebrating to do. Here's Gary Lee.
Danny, a bit of deja vu. You had to chase him down last year. The same thing happens this year. But realistically, with the rough first half of the season you've had, the program has really come together with the 86 cars.
Well, it has, but unfortunately, it's still an 86 car. And we had a good race going, and had gotten away from Bobby early on, and had a little problem with a back marker. Well, Andretti decided to block for his dad for a long time, and I wasn't real pleased with that. And then we had a bum pit stop where we had an air hose problem and lost the pressure, and the car went back down. We had to get it back up with another hose. But even then, when I caught Bobby, I couldn't pass him, so we gave it our best shot. And then at the end, my oil temperature was about 275 degrees, and it was supposed to be 80, so I decided I better back off a little bit.
And take second place and let Bobby have it.
You got it.
All right, second is better than blowing it up and parking it. There he walks away. Second place, Danny Sullivan.
Teammate Rick Mears did finish third, and then Al Unser Jr. and Jeff Brabham. So we will have more post-race comments from Laguna Seca Raceway after these messages. Once again, Bobby Rahal wins the race and the championship. Celebration continues in Victory Lane. We've talked to Bobby Rahal, the winner. We've talked to second place Danny Sullivan. Now let's move in and talk to the third place finisher, Rick Mears. Here's Larry Newberg.
It's a very popular trio down here. I tell you, there's a lot of great response for everybody, and for Rick Mears, he's got to be particularly happy because the growth curve or the recovery, the comeback curve, whatever you want to call it, despite the problems with the chassis this year, which Roger said, so it's okay, we can talk about that. It's been a good season.
It has been, really. You know, things have been coming together for us very well, and you know, I'm tickled to death. We've been able to, when we finish, we've been able to get up into the top 3 to 5, and you know, to be 7th, and I don't know where this put us in points now. After giving away the first 5 or 6 races of the season, I'm pretty happy with that. And I just, you know, again, I got to commend the crew and the good job they did, and they've made some great pit stops and got us up today, and we just hung in there.
There was a time, because of those old injuries, of driving on a road course was tough. Continue to get easier every time?
It is really. Right now, the feet don't bother me at all. You know, on a road course, they don't bother me a bit. Today we went in bouting a little, you know, bout of the flu, and I was pretty weak going into the race, and I really didn't figure I'd be able to run that strong. So I'm tickled to death to be where we're at.
A long weekend for Rick, and he's got to consider that as a victory because 2 Penske cars, 86 chassis, and the 1987 champion up here in the victory stand.
All right, thank you, guys. And the top 15 finishers, Rahal, Danny Sullivan, Rick Mears. 4th was Al Unser Jr., and Jeff Brabham was 5th. Placing 6th, Ari Leyendijk. 7th was John Andretti. He scored points in every race he's been in this year. Jose Le Garza is 8th, Jeff McPherson 9th, and Jeff Wood finished 10th. Then 11 through 15, Scott Goodyear, Pancho Carter, John Richards, Derek Daly 14th, and Johnny Rutherford finished in 15th position. There were 14 cars on the track at the finish of the race. Now the points as we head for the final IndyCar race of the year. Bobby Rahal has 182, and he has clinched the championship. Michael Andretti second in points, then Roberto Guerrero. Ari Leyendijk is 4th without a victory this year, and Rick Mears has 92 points and is 5th in the point standings. David?
Well, it was an impeccable race from Bobby Rahal. Everything worked perfectly. The team worked well. He worked well. They had their stroke of luck where when Mario Andretti dropped out. And, of course, he continued that awful run of bad luck that he's had this year when being very, very dominant in so many races. He's just suddenly dropped by the wayside. So it's a bit of a bad day for Mario, but a great day for this guy. And, of course, as a resident of Columbus, Ohio, he's obviously awash with money now. So I'm expecting to see him down the old BMW store as soon as possible.
Well, the next race we'll have for you here on ESPN as far as Indy cars are concerned will be the Marlboro Challenge. That will be on Saturday, October 31st, live from Tamiami Park at 1 o'clock, featuring the pole winners and the race winners and the top finishers in points. 10 cars in all in the Marlboro Challenge. Now, right after our auto racing here on ESPN this evening, it'll be NFL Prime. Raceway has been brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Quaker State Motor Oil. New Quaker State with QSX.